Live from the Pepper J Production Studios in Hollywood, California, it's time for ActorsE Chat Show. Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Now, with nearly 1,400 entertainment celebrity guests and over 6 million viewers worldwide, every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. A co-production of Pepper J Productions and Live Video Inc., a Kurt Kelly company. It's the ActorsE Chat Show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to ActorsE Chat. I'm Ron Brewington, your host, and I want to let you know we got a great guest today. He's a writer, an actor, a producer. He's a very creative person, one of the few leading blacks in America who does the things that he does, and he does it well. He'll tell you about it. It's without further introduction that I give to you Mr. Leon Isaac Kennedy.
Pleasure to be here with you. And you know, my real claim to fame is I'm Ron's friend and Pepper's friend.
We thank you very much. We thank you very much. Leon, you've got a resume that's long, my friend. Where did it all begin for you?
It began for me in Cleveland, Ohio, when I was about 15 years old. And Ron, I was going to be a doctor, so I was on my road to just trying to be a good student, get good grades, and be a doctor. And everyone in my family always thought I was going to be a doctor. And one particular week, as part of a pre-med club thing in high school, we went to a hospital. And you know, hospitals have a peculiar smell to them, and the hospital was a little depressing. I always wanted to help people, and we still do, but the hospital was a little depressing. That same week, they asked me to be in a high school play. And also, I read Errol Flynn's book, and I said to my girlfriend, you know, it's fate. I'm going to be an actor. And back then, even at 15, I was wise enough to know that there were very, very few opportunities for minorities, especially a light skin, black.
With good hair.
Well, yeah, and so I said, okay, I have to have a plan.
Yes.
So my plan was...
Who's that suave Nabona person? Errol Flynn.
He was my hero because he was a great actor. He was a swashbuckler, high energy, action, bigger than life. So he was my hero as a kid growing up. And I patterned myself after him. I didn't do the drugs and all the hard drinking that he did. Good. But as far as trying to be bigger than life and action type of personality, that's what I tried to be. So at any rate, to have a plan, because I knew I needed a plan even at 15, I said, okay, what I'll do is I'll become a disc jockey. Then I'll be a big-time on-the-air personality. Then from there, I'll get my own TV show, and from the back door of a TV show, eventually get into movies. And so I followed that plan. And when I go on junior high schools, colleges, I always tell young people...
Leon the Lover.
Okay.
How old are you in that picture?
I was about 19, by then.
Okay.
But I always tell young people you have to have a plan.
Yes,
I say, what do you want to do in life? What do you want to be? And so many times they say, I don't know. And I say, well, you have a good chance of being that. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Because if you want to make it in life, you have to have a plan. You have to have a roadmap. It's like getting on an elevator. You want to get to the 7th floor, but you don't push the 7th floor button. Somebody else gets on, they push basement, penthouse, 10th floor, you go up, down, all around, but you never get to your floor. That's the way life is if you don't have a plan.
I hope that people are listening to that, because I'm a college professor myself, and I see a lot of minority men not making it. I see the girls making it, the ladies are making it. They're going to school, getting that education. But you've got to have a plan, and I know there's a lot of problems out there for a lot of young kids. You came up rough in the cities. You know what it was like. I came up in Harlem. We all came up that way, but that didn't stop us from having a plan and making it happen.
And also, in talking to the men out there, there's a lot of rejection. You get turned down, you get doors slammed in your face, you get disrespected. But I always said, no matter how much I was rejected, and by the way, I was not only told no, I've been told no on everything that I ever wanted to do. I wasn't just told no, Ron. I was told, Leon, that's impossible.
Ooh.
But I never accepted impossible. I never accepted no as an answer. If you slam the door in my face, I'm going to go through the side door or the back window, but I'm going to get in as far as what I want to do and what I want to achieve. So for you, especially men listening out there, don't let the no's, don't let the rejection, don't let the heartbreaks drive you to drinking, drive you to drugs. All you're doing is helping those who have told you no. You're helping to destroy yourself. Just go back, recharge. I recharge by a lot of prayer. That's what's kept me going. Prayer and believing in a God, believing that if you work hard, pray hard, and put energy into it, you've got to succeed. So you go back, you recharge, and you come out the next day and do it again.
When you were 16 years old, you were a disc jockey. You were one of the youngest disc jockeys, I'm told, in the major market there. That was quite an accomplishment, even at 16. You're on the way to success.
Yeah, and even with that, there's a story in itself, because here I was, this 15-year-old kid. I want to be a disc jockey, and I got to set it up, because back in those days, back east, there were no movie stars. So if you were a big-time disc jockey back east, you were the star. You were bigger than the football player or the baseball player. They didn't have Twitter accounts and all that where, you know, these players get all this attention back then. But a disc jockey had millions of people listening to him on it every day or every night. So they were the kings of the city. So for this little 15-year-old kid who was me to go to the radio station, and I hung around that day for 3 hours waiting for the program director. And finally, when he came out of his office dressed in a nice suit and tie like you have on, I ran up to him and I said, "Sir, can I speak to you a moment?" He said, "What do you want, kid?" I said, "Sir, I want to be a disc jockey." And he looked and laughed. He said, "Everybody wants to be a DJ." And he walked away, and I ran up to him and I said, "If you would just let me hang around you so I can be like you, I'll work for you for free." And Ron, that stunned him. He said, "You'll work for me for free?" I said, "Yes, sir. I'll take out the trash, I'll sweep the floors, I'll run the errands, whatever you want me to do, just so I can stay around and try and be like you."
Now, who is this gentleman on the right?
That is the incomparable Mike Payne. And if there was a Disc Jockeys Hall of Fame, Mike Payne, Hot Dog, Walsh Allen, and so many of the other people that I worked with would have been in that Disc Jockey Hall of Fame. Mike was one of the greatest disc jockeys I've ever heard.
Wow.
And so we were friends, and then later did a television show together.
Now, before he came into your life, you did a television show, what, Teen-A-Rama, when you were 19?
Yes. Now, by then, I was in Washington, D.C. So as a jock, I worked in Cleveland, then in Detroit, then in Washington, D.C., met the wonderful Kathy Hughes in Washington, D.C., then went on to Houston, Texas, and then came out to L.A. as a disc jockey.
Okay. Let's go back to Motown for just a second. When you moved to Detroit, moving up from Houston, it was a bigger market. You got a chance to know some of the Motown folks there, didn't you?
No, not know some of them. Got to know.
Oh, Kathy Hughes.
There's Kathy Hughes. As a matter of fact, Kathy paid me a wonderful compliment, because she's so accomplished, you know, with the syndicated radio that she does, and now TV and TV One and everything. But Kathy said to me one day, she said, "Leon, as you were a disc jockey doing Lover's Lane in Washington, D.C., she said, you took black radio up to a whole other level of sophistication."
Yes, you did.
And that coming from Kathy Hughes, I thought was a great compliment.
What's Lover's Lane? A lot of people don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Leon's Lover's Lane was a show that so many people loved. As a matter of fact, when I was at Berry Gordy's Motown play opening just last year, Gladys Knight, and her brother, one of the Pips, came up to me and said, "Leon, we used to sit on our front porch back in Detroit and listen to Leon's Lover's Lane." Leon's Lover's Lane was so big that when we came on at midnight, the ratings on the Johnny Carson show would go down because everybody in Detroit was listening to Leon's Lover's Lane. And what it was, I would play a slow theme, which was my theme, and then I would answer people's love problems. And I was like the Dear Abby of radio. I'd get around 500 to 1,000 letters per week, people with their love problems, and I would answer them with my poems and playing some old record that would get to the point of what we were talking about. Classic show.
Classic show. Who's that handsome young man?
Those are some classic hairdos. That's my brother and best friend in life, the one and only Smokey Robinson, who is truly one of the nation's great treasures.
Oh yes, Smokey. They don't call him Smoke for nothing. Hey, all right, all right.
And back to your question about Motown. It was a wonderful way to earn a living as a young disc jockey, 18 years old, to be Leon the Lover on the radio in Detroit. Smokey was my brother and best friend, and I met everyone. So I've known Berry Gordy from the time I was 15. I used to go horseback riding with David Ruffin of the Temptations. Stevie Wonder, the first time he was ever able to spend the night away from someone else other than his mother's house, he spent the night at my house.
All right.
And I could tell you so many stories about my Motown days, but to know all those people back then, to be able to sit in the studio, David Ruffin.
Yes.
I mean, what a singer, huh?
Yeah.
Nobody could hit those notes.
Like him.
I wish it would rain.
Rain.
You know, like a David Ruffin, that gravelly voice, that soulful voice. But to be able to sit in the studio and watch the Four Tops or the Temptations as they're doing a Norman Whitfield production, to be able to sit around great songwriters and watch them work on their songs like a Mickey Stevenson, like a Frank Wilson, it was a great experience. I could tell you 100 stories.
I know you could. Speaking of Motown writers, Holland Dozier Holland.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to get their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Well deserved, and also, why should it have taken this long?
It's a long story.
Yeah.
It's a long story. But anyway, they finally did get it. It's going to, or going to get it. It's on Friday the 13th, February the 13th. Okay. It'll be at around the 7,000 block of Hollywood Boulevard.
I'm going to make it a point to be there.
I hope that you'll be there. Mr. Gordy will be there. A lot of people will be there. We've worked hard to get that star for those guys. Long overdue. So some more. Motown continues. We have an organization called the Motown Alumni Association that I'm a national vice president of, and we make sure that that name Motown, and it's good folks like yourself, Leon, that help us keep that good name of Motown. As they say, there is no town like Motown. There's no town like it. And the music was just awesome. The slow jams that you used to play, oh yeah, Motown Alumni Association, we thank you for that plug, Pepper, really appreciate that. Billy Wilson out of Detroit, he's my boss, and he's the national president. And we do what we can do. We get stars for people, like we got Marvin Gaye a star and a few other folks like that. But it's not what we do. It's keeping what Motown did for us. Because guys our age, we're in our 30s, right? We're in our 30s. In our 30s, yeah.
The new 30s.
The new 30s, right. We came up with that music.
Yes.
We came, and then there you
were. And it changed so much.
Oh, didn't it? I mean, you had, oh, there's Billy Wilson, yeah, okay. I'll make sure Billy sees that picture. Billy, they got your picture there. But what they've been doing, so many people that you had a chance to work with, and the influence that they had on you when you were Leon the Lover, when you were in front of that microphone, saying those words, doing those things.
Well, not only the influence they had on me, but the influence they had on the whole world. I think that music helped, more so than too much of anything else, break down the racial barriers.
Yes, sir.
It brought people together in a good way.
Yes, it did. Music is, look at this, here's a picture of you on Ebony Magazine.
With the wonderful Jane Kennedy. And people always ask me about Jane, and I'm proud to say that even though we've been apart now for about 30 years, that Jane and I are still the best of friends. As a matter of fact, I spoke to her just Christmas Day. We always call each other during the holidays. We talk about every 2 weeks, but we always call each other on our birthdays and during the holidays and so on and so forth. I'm good friends with her husband, Bill Overton, and their children.
Who's that?
Here we are on Body and Soul with Ali the rascal stealing a kiss. Ali was a great friend. You know, I'm going to have to write a book because I've got so many wonderful memories.
Okay.
And with Ali, I traveled all around the world. I went to the Thriller in Manila, so many places with Ali. We went to Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia. What a bigger-than-life personality.
He certainly is. You're watching ActorsE Chat. I'm your host, Ron Brewington, and we'll be right back after a word from one of our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Anna Shaw Ray, here to share with you a terrific online gift store, ArtistStore.com. ArtistStore is an online art colony of completely original and absolutely affordable gifts and fine art. ArtistStore is particularly fun because it includes many unique and one-of-a-kind gifts, cards, and wall art that you can't get anywhere else. For example, in the gift section, ArtistStore carries beautiful apparel art ties. Yes, art ties. Ties hand-decorated with jewelry, fringe, beads, and all sorts of stuff. Animal art ties, art deco ties, music ties, you name it. And best of all, the ties are for both men and women and can be worn well with a pair of jeans or in a tux. ArtistStore also has inspirational corporate jungle posters. Joe Sabatino likes the poster of the hippo. He put it on his refrigerator to remind him of what not to look like. Yes, clown art, custom airbrush t-shirts, hand knit scarves, photography, handmade decorated soaps, and more, all on one site, ActorsE.com. I especially enjoy the artwork by Brennan's section of ActorsE. Brennan offers his artwork on note cards, mugs, and wall art, whether it's cocktail ladies, a smoking clown, or Ben and Becky's art for a child's room. Brennan's unique watercolor or pen and ink art will be perfect for the occasion. And when you use the discount code ActorsReporter at checkout, you'll get 10% off your entire ActorsE order. ActorsE.com. That's spelled A-R-T-I-S-T-O-R. That's A-R-T-I-S-T-O-R. Check it out. You'll be glad you did. ActorsE.com for all your unique gift needs.
And welcome back to ActorsE Chat. I'm your host, Ron Brewington, with our special guest today, Leon Isaac Kennedy. But I want to tell you something in just a moment here. We'd like to introduce you to Actors Reporter. With ActorsReporter.com, you get the latest news, events, and happenings right here in Hollywood. Plus, you get loads of discount coupons from our many, many sponsors who make this program possible. And lately, we've put something special in there. We've got a special download of interviews and how to do an interview. You actors, you entertainers out there, you need to know how to do an interview. Check it out and see what it's all about. So we strongly urge you to check out this marvelous information source. That's ActorsReporter.com. Okay? You'll be glad you did. Again, our very special guest in house today, Leon Isaac Kennedy, the legendary Leon Isaac Kennedy. Now, Leon, I came to Washington, D.C. in the 70s.
Okay.
And when I came there, I used to listen to WOL. And all the good jocks that they had, Bobby Bennett, Terrible Turk, all those, Soul Finger, Soul Papa the Bebopper, all those guys. And every Sunday, you, my friend, were on the air. Oh, what they say, shad ain't fish and grits ain't groceries. You would get up there on Sunday and play that music, mix that music, read those letters. Ladies would say, because one thing you and I have always believed, and we all believe in love.
Yes.
Love, not hatred, love.
Mm-hmm.
Read a love letter, get romantic. And ladies wanted that special thing. And they picked the right guy for that job. That was you, my friend.
Well, thank you.
You did a great job. What was some good moments that you had during that time frame?
Well, you know, it was almost like a ministry, because the minute that show would come on, all the phones would be jammed. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I would say, it's Saturday night. How many of you are sitting by a phone all alone, a phone that will never ever ring, at least not with the one that you want to call? It's treat your baby right night, but nobody's treating you right tonight. If you're feeling alone, this is your show. This is dedicated to lovers and lovers only. Those of you that live it, those of you that love it, and those of you that are simply out searching for more of it. And on and on.
Yeah. Oh, that was beautiful. Oh, that takes me back in time. Takes me back in time. Many a days in Washington, D.C., where you had a number of, 16 women to every man?
Yes.
Had some but there were a lot of lonely women in that town. And you were the person that they went to. You grabbed them and you gave them a little bit of Leon the Lover.
Now I have to sidetrack here for a second, because you just brought back a memory. I have an Aunt B. She's now 93 years old. But she's one of those famous personalities that everyone has in their life. So she lived in D.C., and she always would put me in my place. So I'm Leon the Lover, big-time disc jockey in Washington, and she says, Leon, honey, come on over here this afternoon. Aunt B needs to talk to you. So I come by her house, and she had prepared lunch, and she had prepared around 12 raw oysters. So she said, here, put some hot sauce on these and eat every one of them. I had never had raw oysters before. I said, they're a little slimy, Aunt B. She said, well, eat them, they're good for you. I said, good for you? She said, you don't know about raw oysters? I said, no. She said, honey, they put lead in your pencil. I said, lead in your pencil? She said, let me tell you about Washington, D.C. There are 16 women for every man, and any fool on the radio calling himself Leon the Lover, you need to eat raw oysters every day. That was my Aunt B.
Oh, God bless. Thank you, Aunt B. Thank you very much. He needed that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And then after you spent a little time in Washington, D.C., a couple of years, you made your way to this town, Hollywood, California. Mm-hmm. What was it like when you first came here?
You know, Hollywood, and I had planned on coming to Hollywood from the time I was 15 years old, so we finally made it. Okay. Jane and I came out together. We were married by then, and as a matter of fact, Mike Payne came out with us and his wife, and we were going to conquer Hollywood. Now, mind you, I had left a TV show and a radio show. Okay. And Jane had been the first black woman that had been Miss Ohio in the Miss Universe pageant. So we were, I was back in Cleveland at that time. So we were the biggest things going in Cleveland. And when we got engaged, I said, now we could stay here, but maybe we'll settle down into mediocrity, or we can go ahead and take our shot now at making it in LA, in Hollywood. And so I told my friends, I'm going to make both of us into a Hollywood star. Now, I had to give up a radio show and a TV show. Come to L.A. and there she is as Miss Ohio. And she was 18 at that time. Wow. Just a stunning beauty, but also one of the sweetest, nicest people that you'll ever meet. So my friends thought I'd gone too far. Wait a minute, you're giving up radio, you're giving up TV. Ron, to come out here and not know anybody. I knew no one and had no job prospects at all, but I had faith. But Hollywood does not treat you good. Their impression, and now by then the Out of Sight television show had also been syndicated. By the way, Out of Sight was one of the nation's first black syndicated shows, and I wrote it and produced it and co-hosted it with Mike Payne. So it was out before Soul Train as a syndicated show. So at any rate, with a show with 22 cities, you thought you had some clout. But Hollywood's attitude was, if you didn't do it in Hollywood and you didn't do it in New York, it doesn't count. Right. And so you might as well go back to where you were popular, because you mean nothing here. Right. So lots of doors slammed in one's face. Very difficult, very trying days. But you being the very good man that you are, you met a lot of people very quickly. Yeah. You ran into a guy named Red Fox. The Red Fox? Met Red Fox later, but you know, I believe in networking, and I tell actors all the time, you cannot sit around and wait for your agent to call you or your manager to call you. If you're an actor or a writer or a producer, you got to look at yourself as a salesperson, and what you're selling is your project, and what you're selling is you. You're the commodity, and every single day you've got to go out and sell. And by the way, any good salesman, you might have met someone 6 months earlier, left a card with them or whatever. Now you got to circle back and recall. Gotcha. And it just takes Red Fox. Just takes a lot of work. What a great guy, Fred Sanford. What a guy. My goodness. We will miss you, Fred. We do miss you. When did the acting bug bite you? Well, the acting bug was there from the time I was 15, and I was just working my way to it. And so eventually what I had to do, and you go through a lot of humbling experiences. With Screen Actors Guild, you cannot get a card to join the Screen Actors Guild unless you're working, and they'll tell you you can't work unless you have the card. So Pepper, you know that's a real catch-22. So a friend of mine said, well, Leon, if you become an extra, then you can at least join the Screen Extras Guild, and then from there, being a sister union, you can get your Screen Actors Guild. But you're going to have to stay as an extra for about 6 months. So Ron, they were paying $35. And now mind you, I had my own TV show, written it, produced it, been a big-time disc jockey from the time I was 15. And here I am on a movie set, extra atmosphere, and you can't sit in that chair. You got to just stand over here. Some days they make you stand out in the rain. I mean, it was really paying your dues. It was really a humbling experience. They're paying you $35. Now, I used to get $35 a day, by the way. I used to get $500 at 18 just to go on stage for 10 minutes and introduce somebody on stage. And here I am, $35 a day and extra. So humbling. It was a very humbling experience, but I was working my way through, and as you said, paying your dues. Indeed. You met a guy as time went on. His name is Jamal Fanaka. Yes. Can you talk about him, please? I sure can. I always believed in having what I call economic freedom. I don't really believe in starving in the name of the arts. When you have a script or you have a project or a passion, that's hard enough trying to sell it and dealing with the rejections. You don't have to be worrying about how am I paying my rent. So I always believed in having money. So I had clubs. And those clubs back in those days, and some of you out here in Los Angeles, you remember some of those clubs, the downstairs room that was famous, the candy store, that there would be traffic jams where people would be coming to the candy store. The first one I started with was Disco 1985, which was on Santa Monica and Vine, but Disco 1985 was named that way back in 1972. But anyway, those clubs brought in a cash flow for me. And it gave me economic freedom for myself and for Jane to do whatever we wanted to do. So Jamal had come to one of the clubs, and he knew I had been a big-time disc jockey, and by then was on the air out here. And he was doing a little project called Penitentiary, and one day he left that script at my doorstep. So that's how it all started.
A little script called Penitentiary. You had a chance to get in front of that camera, put some gloves on, but it was more than just a fighter. There you were fighting with, who's that gentleman right there?
That is the one and only Mr. T. That's Mr. Penitentiary 2 right there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is right after he had done Rocky 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the story? The basic storyline about Penitentiary was?
Penitentiary was a character named Too Sweet, who was Jamal's alter ego. Martel Gordon. There's Jamal. Look at that smile.
Oh, yeah.
And let's take a moment here to talk about Jamal, because Jamal was truly a groundbreaker. Mm-hmm. Jamal had graduated top of the class from film school, mm-hmm. and his thesis, he just went out and did a movie.
Right.
And so now he was going to do Penitentiary, and it was a great collaboration when Jamal and I met. We played off of each other, we bounced off each other, he was open to ideas and so on and so forth, and it was a great collaboration. You know, the first part that was offered to me was not the Too Sweet character.
Yeah, there you go, Jamal.
Yeah. There we are some years later.
Yeah.
The first part was the Tommy Pollard part, where the guy was having his manhood taken.
Okay.
Glynn Turman, who
mm-hmm.
was a big name from JD's Revenge and The Minstrel and Cooley High. He was playing Too Sweet. He was a big name, but he had just married Aretha Franklin, mm-hmm. and they had a falling out about how much money Glynn would get, because there was no money for the budget really. Mm-hmm. And Glynn said, "Well, you know, I'm going on my honeymoon." So Jamal, being very impetuous, said, "Well, who's going to be Too Sweet?" Because Glynn had left the set. And Hi-Fi White, the comedian, said, "Well, Leon should be Too Sweet." Now, I had secretly been rehearsing the Too Sweet part and working out. There's Aretha Franklin. Yes. Lady Soul.
Lady Soul.
Glynn used to say, "I go to bed with Lady Soul every night." And Aretha, I've known Aretha since I was mm-hmm. 18, you know, because mm-hmm. she came up in Detroit, and we're still good friends to this day. Mm-hmm. But at any rate, just in case an opportunity came up, because I believe in being prepared, yes. I had already been rehearsing the Too Sweet part, all the lines and so on and so forth, but more importantly, going to the gym, working out every day, running 7 miles a day, and had gotten Muhammad Ali to secretly train me as a boxer. Ooh. And so when it was time for me to show Jamal what I could do, I said, "And by the way, you've got the Too Sweet character just moving slowly and plodding along like a method boxer and just throwing a punch." I said, "No, he's not like that. He's too fast. He's too quick. He's too sweet." And I went into my moves and started bouncing around and so on and so forth. And Jamal said, "He's too sweet."
There you go.
And so the rest, as they say, became history.
Now, one was very popular.
Not only very popular, back then the so-called black exploitation era was over, mm-hmm. and so they weren't doing so-called black films anymore. Mm-hmm. And so everyone said, "Why are you doing this? No one's going to see it. Mm-hmm. Blacks aren't going to go to see it. No theaters are going to play it." I said, "I'm doing it to prove that I'm leading man material. Jamal's doing it to prove that he can direct a major motion picture." Mm-hmm. And no one wanted the film. But we had the last laugh. That little film that was done for less than $350,000 became the #1 independent film, not black film, #1 independent film in the country.
Mm. Which led Jamal to say, "Let's do #2.
We did #2, we did #3. But also, before that happened, Ron, very interesting thing. As I'm looking at Daily Variety and Hollywood Reporter, seeing that I've got the top box office film, and doing more per screen than Academy Award nominated films. Yet my phone wasn't ringing. No other parts coming.
Wow.
So to me, when you have a film that hot, breaking box office records, it should be like Saturday Night Fever time, John Travolta time, and yet no phone calls coming in. I called my agent. I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Leon, they don't know what to do with you. You're not a black comedian. You're a leading man, and they don't know what to do with you." So as a result, I had to learn to write and produce and go out and raise money just to work. Not that I was so talented, but just to work at my craft.
Okay. You're watching ActorsE Chat. I'm your host, Ron Brewington. We'll be right back after a word from one of our sponsors.
The great thing about NNow Media is a one-stop shop. We are soup to nuts. We have writers, directors, producers, animators, motion graphics artists, editors, videographers, musicians, all under one roof. And we are a boutique creative house where we actually do the creative at much more affordable price and have the staff in-house to execute it professionally. My name is John Palacio.
My name is Luz Montez.
My name is Paul Robinson.
I am Jesse Cervantes.
I'm Curtis Peel.
My name is Ben Joran.
One of the most common questions we have from potential clients is, how does it work? What happens when you engage NNow Media to create a video, a marketing campaign?
It first starts with, obviously having the phone conversation with the client.
Brainstorm with them to come up with a really good concept and a really good idea to push whatever they're trying to do to the next level.
Only with that in mind can we really try to tailor a concept and a script for their exact audience that fits in with their branding and the message they want to tell.
We'll storyboard it out, get a real rough idea of what we want to do.
We'll then present the client with a couple of options, different ways that we could go with some of the things that we've come up with.
And they'll say this is good, and then we'll come back and we'll start animating that or designing it or editing it.
Our clients are generally, like to be really hands-on, and we'd like to hear from you kind of all along the board. There's no surprises.
What we like to do with every partner is we actually create a page on the NNow website.
So they can give feedback, and that way when the time we get to the final product, usually there's not a whole lot more revisions to do because we've already been working together the whole time.
The big difference is that real personal creative touch.
We have a creative group that can execute that vision, whether it's animation, video, motion graphics, and do so with some unique creative that is custom tailored to that business.
Dream it up. It's video. It's magic. It can happen.
And welcome back to ActorsE Chat. I'm your host, Ron Brewington, with our very special guest today, Leon Isaac Kennedy. Leon, when you did Penitentiary 2, you talked about it a moment ago. We got a film. We want to let the folks see what you did. Can you tell us about it and walk us through this, please?
Okay, this is Penitentiary 1. And this is, we're seeing different highlights here of, now, this is some of the boxing. That's Big Jesse there, and Big Jesse was the villain. That's seldom seen, and the old man that played seldom seen was not really a professional actor, but he was the best for this part.
Okay.
And he did a tremendous job. This is Donovan Womack, who played Big Jesse. And what gripped people about this film, Ron, was the rawness of it. People said, it was raw, more gritty than Rocky. The boxing sequences made Rocky look like patty cake, was what the Boston Globe said. And Rocky was a big film, so we're not knocking Rocky, but it was a film to pattern yourself after. So to get those type of accolades, we thought was great.
Wow. I mean, you guys really were hitting each other, weren't you?
Oh, when you're working with people that aren't, quote, professional stuntmen, yes, I did get hit a lot.
Wow.
I got knocked into cement walls, got ribs cracked, and so on and so forth. My whole body was always black and blue. This is from Body and Soul, and I was just so elated that Muhammad Ali, he was the top personality in the world at this particular time, that he would come and work with us. And I said, Ali and I were great friends. I called him and told him, Ali, I've written a part just for you. I got it in your speech cadence. And I told him all about it, and he listened to it, and he said, oh, man, I'm in, you know. And he came to the set, and it was, you know, when we were looking at the rushes of that film, I said to Jane, as we're sitting in the studio looking at the rushes and I'm boxing with Muhammad Ali, I said, I'm in there with the greatest of all time. The greatest of all time. This is something I can show my children and grandchildren, that I'm in the boxing ring with the greatest of all time. I mean, it was quite an experience.
Every time just a couple of weeks ago, they said that something had happened to Muhammad. You just feel tight because we don't want to lose him.
No.
We say, Lord, please take your time. Now you're going to get him, but please take your time.
One of the greatest personalities and one of the greatest hearts.
He made Howard Cosell. He made
lots of people. I was with Hugh O'Brien just the other day. Hugh was from Wyatt Earp fame.
Right.
And Ali was always so gracious, because when a star would walk in, Ali's the biggest thing in the universe, but he'd always give other people the platform. Like when I'd walk into the room, hey everybody, it's Leon the Lover, it's Leon the Lover. When Hugh O'Brien would walk into the room, he'd say, hey everybody, Wyatt Earp, brave, courageous, and bold. He'd sing the song. That's the way Ali was. He's the one and only Muhammad Ali.
Leon, I got to ask you, is acting natural for you, or is it just something that you just had training? How did you do it?
Well, now it depends on what critics, what reviews you're reading. No, you know, some of it was natural, but then some of it you really have to push and you really have to strain. And by that I mean, I think that any good actor, sometimes you have to go to parts that are not comfortable for you to go to those parts. Now, I trained as an actor. I trained even as a professional radio announcer. I went to college. I majored in speech therapy. I had to learn how to break down words phonetically so that you could read them properly, so that you could pronunciate properly, so that you could get rid of all regional dialect if you're going to be in radio. You know, if you look at a newscaster today, they don't want you to have a southern twang or a Boston dialect. They want you to sound American dialect is what they call it. So I worked very hard, and the diaphragm exercises, I still do them. As a matter of fact, Maureen, my current wife, laughs at me because I do the voice exercises, and she always laughs when I'm doing them. But it keeps your voice in shape. So we worked very hard. I went to many acting classes to learn the things that I've done. So I've even played Hamlet, you know, on things. So you have to learn.
Did you say Hamlet?
Yes.
To be or not to be?
To be or not to be, that is the question, whether it be noble or to. Speak the speech I pray thee as I pronounce it to thee, trippingly on the tongue, but if you mouth it as many of your players do, I just leave the town crier, spoke my lines. Here's
Who's
Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh my gosh.
Sammy was one of the first big stars that befriended me when I came into LA. And I could go over to Sammy's house anytime. And Sammy always had get-togethers and so on and so forth. But after Penitentiary came out, he called me one day. As a matter of fact, he said it on The Tonight Show. He said, Leon is a genius when it comes to films. And when he saw Body and Soul, he said, and I reaffirm Leon is a genius because he can write films, he can produce films, because I had written and produced Body and Soul. And didn't have a lot of money to work with. So, so that's why he said a genius, to get that much quality. And he said, Leon, if you ever want me to be in a film, let me know. And so years later, I called him and I said, Sammy, I wrote this part especially for you.
And what happened to that part?
Well, that was in Knights of the City, and you know, as a writer-producer, you have heartbreaks too, you know, because Knights of the City was a great film. This is right after Flashdance, and we had 100 break dancers, and I put in Run the MC and Curtis Blow and the Fat Boys. I was one of the first to put major rappers on the big screen. And do you know that the studio that distributed the film cut Sammy Davis Jr. out of the film? A living legend. And it hurt me to the quick of my heart. Now see, I thought if you wrote something, produced it, and starred in it, you had pretty much control. You know, no, it's the golden rule. Whoever has the gold makes the rule. And that, so I made it so that will never happen again to one of my films.
This film was?
This is Lone Wolf McQuade with the wonderful Chuck Norris David Carradine.
Okay.
And that was a lot of fun working out with Chuck, a true gentleman. We shared a lot of stories together because Bruce Lee was one of my heroes.
Okay.
And Muhammad Ali was one of Chuck's heroes. Now, Chuck had worked with Bruce, and I had worked and knew Muhammad Ali, so we trade stories together every morning as we worked out. There's the Fat Boys, and that's from Knights of the City. I don't know where you're getting all these great clips, Pepper. By the way, I have to take a moment just to applaud Pepper, because Pepper is one of the producers of this show, and she is one of the best floor directors, floor producers I have ever had the privilege of being around.
Indeed, indeed.
Okay, this is Off the Skeleton Coast. And that is Academy Award winner Ernest Borgnine. And you know that man on the left from, I called him Man from Uncle.
Man from Uncle.
But we were all wonderful friends as we were over in Africa doing that film.
Okay, okay. You've been called the godfather of minority independent filmmakers. Tell us about that, sir.
Well, you know, I think that that is a very nice compliment. Whatever you can do to help the next generation coming up, you want to help. And to make it myself, I really had to break down a lot of barriers. I had to break down a lot of doors. I flew all around the world to meet foreign buyers and so on and so forth. Many of the things Jane did, she opened up the doors for many of the female hosts that are on television, especially many of the female sportscasters that are on television.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So we were a couple, a pioneer couple. But as Barry Gordy said to me once, you know, Leon, usually the pioneers don't make it to the promised land. They get ambushed along the way. So for this next generation to just say, you know, we like some of the things you did, Leon, and you helped it to be a little better for us, I appreciate that.
Okay, we'll come back in just a moment. You're watching ActorsE Chat. I'm your host, Ron Brewington. We'll be right back after a word from one of our sponsors.
Have you been waiting for a simple and cost-effective alternative to ISDN? No need to wait any longer. Introducing IPDTL from InQuality. IPDTL is a revolutionary yet easy-to-use webpage which uses Chrome to stream audio to and from anywhere on Earth. Well, audio quality with IPDTL is equivalent to, yet far less expensive than ISDN, and with no connection charges. No proprietary hardware or software needed. Just download the Chrome browser and use it. To find out more and to get a free account for your station, go to ipdtl.com. IPDTL is perfect for radio stations and voice talent alike, and can work anywhere in the world. Well, anywhere with the internet, that is. It's here. Go to ipdtl.com and sign up today. IPDTL, the game changer you've been waiting for.
IPDTL is an amazing new technology. In fact, go right now to ipdtl.com/AE. And there you'll find out how you can get rid of your ISDN, how you can do live television broadcast in full HD, and it's very cost effective. We've been using it for pioneering new technology with our broadcast out of Istanbul on ActorsE Chat. Go there right now.
And welcome back to ActorsE Chat. I'm your host, Ron Brewington, with our very special guest today, Leon Isaac Kennedy. Leon, with all the things that you have done, sometimes something happened in your life. You became a minister. Please talk about that, sir.
You know, Ron, nothing tragic happened. There was just a pull of God on my life, and I actually ran from it. I wanted to be saved. I wanted to make heaven, but I didn't want to go too far. You know, I certainly didn't want to go into ministry. But when God has other plans for your life, you can run, but you sure can't hide. You can ask Jonah about that. And so I finally quit running and from God and ran to God and went into ministry. And it's the type of ministry, it's not the ministry that is a condemning ministry. You do this or you're going to hell. You do this. No, it's not that type of ministry. It's a ministry that talks to people about how great you are, how wonderfully created you are. And if you knew how wonderfully created you were, then you wouldn't really be depressed. You wouldn't really put the poisonous drugs or too much alcohol in your body and so on and so forth. And so we help people to see the great talent, the great things that have been deposited into them, and how to bring it out so that you can have the type of life that you want. Not just that you want, the type of life that God wants for you.
Right.
So one of the prayers I always pray is, Lord, create in me a pure heart. Lord, take this heart and use it for your good. Lord, take this life and make it into something worthwhile for you. And it's been very rewarding. We've seen many, many lives change.
Amen. Now, you have a special project that you put together. It's called Heavenly Stars?
Yes, Heavenly Stars this is the first film I've done in about 15 years.
Okay.
And it's a way of combining my spiritual walk with my creative DNA. And so Heavenly Stars, it's a Christmas film. So if you think of Jimmy Stewart, It's a Wonderful Life, it's got that backdrop. And it's our hero, you'll like this, is a disc jockey. His name is Rock and Roll Eddie. And the time is now, by the time the film comes out, Christmas of 2015. Rock and Roll's life was great. Rock and Roll's very eccentric. Time is 2015, but if you look at Rock and Roll, you wouldn't know it because he lives in a time warp of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You go to his home, it's a shrine to that era. You'll see big posters of Marvin Gaye and the Temptations and Elvis and Michael Jackson. Life was great, Ron, for Rock and Roll until that one wintry night when he got a visit from the spirits. But not just any spirits, the spirits of Elvis and Michael Jackson and John Lennon. And Elvis dropped into his living room, and Rock and Roll's running all around saying, "Ghost, ghost!" And Eddie and Elvis is saying, "Be cool, Rock. We are what we are." Right. And then Michael says, "And we've come back to cut one last CD, a la We Are the World. It's called We Care. And your job is to get that CD played and produced, and for all the proceeds to go to feed and shelter the homeless." And then John Lennon comes in and says, "Because imagine if people down here see that up there we care, maybe others will start to care about others less fortunate than themselves. Imagine all the people starting to really care." Ooh, ooh. And then they disappear.
Right.
And that's the beginning of the movie.
Okay.
But along the way, this is a movie, even though it's a comedy drama, it's a movie with a heart, but with a very serious message, because, Ron, we get to know the homeless. Okay. And the homeless, quote, the homeless, they're not just winos and drug addicts out there. We see them as individuals. We see them as people that caught a bad break. The real villain in this story are the banksters and the corporate CEOs who would rather, for greed, downsize and outsource an American family just so they can get a bigger bonus. So it's a movie with a heart, and we're very excited about it. It's called Heavenly Stars, and for people that want to learn more, they can go to heavenlystarsthemovie.com. heavenlystarsthemovie.com. We're looking at it as a movie that will also start a movement, because I want to eradicate homelessness within my lifetime. Gotcha. I know there's always going to be some homeless, but it doesn't have to be in the multiple millions like it is now, Rob.
I mean, this is America. We shouldn't be this way.
No, we shouldn't. And the average homeless family is one woman and two children. One out of every 4 homeless is a vet. And tonight, there are over 1 million homeless children tonight as we speak.
My goodness. How can people get in contact with you for this particular?
Well, we're in the midst of a crowdfunding campaign. They can go to heavenlystarsthemovie.com and they can make a donation that will help get the movie to its next step. And we're using proceeds too to help feed and shelter and clothe the homeless right now with blankets, sleeping bags, etc. You know, we have more harsh winters now than we had in the past, but they never talk about how many homeless perish during our winter session.
This is true.
Now, by the way, when this...
Here's your website right here?
Yes, and well, this is LeonIsaacKennedy.org, so people can go to that. And also for, after this show is aired and airs again, if people need to find me, they can go to emailangel at AOL.com. That's EMAILANGEL, emailangel at AOL.com.
Okay. And that's my history maker. I need to talk to you about making you a history maker. You've been there a long time, my friend. You need to be one. There's my IMDb page, and there's my twin brother on the right side. There's 2 of us. Yeah, he's a twin. Yeah. Oh yes, indeed. And take a look at this.
Hi, I'm Sonia Harley, one of your ActorsE Chat hosts. Thank you for joining us on ActorsE Chat. We are now 6 million viewers strong from all over the world, and we really appreciate you. ActorsE Chat shoots live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time from the Pepper J Production Studio right in Hollywood, California. Want to see all of today's episode or any other ActorsE Chat episode? Please visit ActorsEntertainment.com and put the talent's name in the search box. For instance, like if you're looking for Sonia Harley, for me, put in Sonia Harley, and we'll take you right where you need to go. And go ahead and visit the Actors Entertainment on imdb.com. That's the Internet Movie Database to see the more than 1,300 entertainment industry professionals that have been guests on ActorsE Chat. And social media is so important, so please follow us on Twitter. Our handle is at Actors Entertain, and join us on Facebook at Actors Entertainment fan page. And don't forget to like us, because those likes, they really do help out. Stay tuned for our Actors Reporter animation, which won Best Animation at the Telly Awards. Great job, and Now Media, and Pepper J Productions, and terrific singing by Melissa Suzanne. And now, a special thank you to today's ActorsE Chat guest.
And welcome back to ActorsE Chat. I'm your host, Ron Brewington. We've had a very special guest today, Leon Isaac Kennedy. Leon, before we get out of here, one quick question. How do you want to be remembered, my friend?
Well, that's one to ponder on, but I would say that as a man who loved God, as a man who yielded to God so that God could use him to be of service to others, a man who loved life and tried to be the best that he could be.
My brother, we thank you so much for coming down today.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. We got to get you back again.
Thank
Definitely.
you.
Thank you so much. And thank you all. Come back with us again another time. Thank you now. Take care now. Bye-bye.
What's that? ActorsE Chat Show? Happens to be my favorite. In the morning, I want nothing but a cup of coffee, a bottle of Kahlua, 6 naked girls. Wait, no, that's not right. ActorsE Chat Show.
Thanks for joining us on ActorsE Chat. Remember to visit ActorsE.com and enjoy all your past ActorsE Chat episodes with celebrity favorites. Look in the search box to find who you're looking for. ActorsE has had over 1,300 entertainment celebrity guests and over 6 million viewers worldwide. Join us every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for watching ActorsE Chat live from Hollywood. ActorsE Chat is a co-production of Pepper J Productions and Live Video Inc., a Kurt Kelly company. All rights expressly reserved in all formats. Thanks for watching.
Oh my gosh, hey big Hollywood starlet that just happens to be walking by. Yes? I'm not from around here, but I want to be an actress just like you. What do I need to know? Kid, let me tell you, whether you're a seasoned pro or a naive newbie like you, there's one thing you need to know. To get my first job, I lived in a slum, beat out 50 other girls to play a drunk bum. My first agent charged me 30%. Thanks. Working 3 jobs and I couldn't pay rent, but I'm an actor. She's an actor. A shark gnawed my leg on a B film in Sydney. To pay for the stitches, I sold my left kidney. I finally made a union, their rules were complex. Their piles of paperwork fogged up my specs. But I'm an actor. She's an actor. I'm an actor. Well, that's rather disturbing, but what's the one thing I need to know? Don't listen to the critics. Don't follow all the tabs. Forget that sleazy photog and the agent that's got crabs. Go to Actors Reporter. ActorsReporter.com. Learn the tricks and the secrets without all the sweat. An info-packed one-stop shop. It's free and on the net. Actors Reporter. ActorsReporter.com.
How can they help her?
Career cues, union news, makeup woes, advice from pros, insurance tips, choosing scripts, everything at your fingertips. Actors Reporter. Actors Reporter. ActorsReporter.com.
I just got a call back.
I'll do it.
Oh, hello. I'm Mary Jo Gruber. Thanks for joining us on ActorsE Live Chat Show. I'm just one of your ActorsE hosts, but as you can see, I'm also the ActorsE Live video editor, which means that I'm here, even when you don't see me. ActorsE is here to chat with you Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or Hollywood time, as I like to call it. Our guests include actors, directors, producers, writers, singers, comics, and others that are all in the entertainment industry. You can see previous shows at www.actorsentertainment.com, and be sure to check out our guest index to find your favorite celebrities. See you next time. I'm working.